All right, welcome back to the Pure Playbook. I'm Dr. Dustin Bosson here with Dr. Nate Merhaut. We are excited to be back for another episode here on the Pure Playbook. We're going to be going over just another one of the pillars. There are 3 of them. We've been cruising through. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're always going to be bringing new content, and maybe some of it not so new, but definitely relevant content to student athletes and their parents trying to keep up with the games that are changing, with how these student athletes are built nowadays, the healthcare we provide, the evaluation we've created. These are all just things that we want to make sure we get out so we can protect and build athletes better. So this week, what we got?
So we're going over the mental pillar this week, and this is definitely a piece that I personally think is missed in a lot of healthcare, whether that's with orthos, PTs, other chiropractors, when there's some type of rehab component or an injury that we're dealing with. A lot of it's the physical side that we're dealing with and trying to get it physically back to where it needs to be. And if the mental side of it is never addressed, and there's a lot of research that backs what we're going to say in this, that you don't get 100%. And sometimes that 100% is 50% or more from the mental side of it. And we'll get into that and what that means from injuries. But the mental pillar, which is the second pillar, and we're trying to talk a little bit more about it in the office too with a lot of the clients and the student athletes that we're seeing, so that they can see the full picture of what the pure athlete is, and not just, oh, you have an injury or we want to prevent an injury. What else is involved in it? So the mental pillar is a big piece of it.
Yeah, and that's something even from the parents' perspective too, that they even forget about. They get so wrapped up in the emotion of, my athlete is injured, or they get so wrapped up in the competition, and it's very easy to lose the aspect of like, oh man, how am I treating people? How do I help them treat people? There's so much involved as we even head into the third pillar that we will talk about on the relational side. So there's a mental aspect in that, but like you're saying, especially on the performance side and, the injury side, it's not just all about like, oh, mental resilience. And this is what's nice too about you and I. It's like innately we get both sides of where we're coming from, but it's like, oh man, just another mental resilience thing. Oh, let's just rah, rah, rah. And it's just, there's more to that, which is why we want to speak on this. Is when it comes to being an athlete, you very quickly wrap your identity up in the jersey, in the competition. It's very easy to do and just don't know any better. So this is going to be a full circle roundabout, and I'm going to stop here if you want to keep directing, because super passionate about this side. This mental pillar is probably you told me to pick out one, this would be it. Yeah.
So let's ease into the mental side of it, and starting with how the physical component is related to the mental component. And the term I'm going to throw out there is kinesiophobia. And what that means is the fear of movement, especially after an injury. And so there's that mental component of not wanting to do something that either caused the injury in the first place, or something that someone's told you not to do. And that's a good example. I'm just going to pull this out right now. Is with squatting, again, we talked about that last time, is don't let your knees go over your toes is a common thing that we hear with that. And there's good intention on when people say that, but sometimes it's perceived in a different manner, and then we change the way that we move because of because of what someone said. And that's kind of what I'm getting at is with the kinesiophobias. We're scared of doing a certain movement based on either a previous injury or something that someone has told us not to do. And once we get into like the kinesiophobia and the physical side of how it relates to the mental, then I really want to get into the mental component of let's just go straight mental and how that applies to the student athlete.
I'll go straight mental, brother. I will go straight mental.
So with an injury, and we have a lot of good examples of this. I'm going to have you talk on one of the examples with kinesiophobia, because I know you've been working with her in the office, and it's been a passion project for you, and you've just really been able to connect with her. We obviously won't drop names, but talk a little bit about your experience with one of our athletes right now and how this component of it has really, we've addressed it and it's really changed the game for her.
Yeah, well, I am going to drop names because she told me I could.
Okay,
so
go for it.
Yeah, no, Maddie has done very, very well, and shout out to her because she's the one doing all the work, and we're blessed to have the opportunity to work with her because we kind of mentioned her story a little bit. So real quick, let me give a little bit of background of the story, because this is going to be a lot of student athletes who maybe have suffered this injury of an ACL tear.
Yeah.
And so she first love is probably basketball. She's going to play college soccer. Okay, so let me just give you that background. So her junior year, she decided to forego basketball to really focus on soccer. And now that was the previous year. That was the end of 2020. That was 2023, 2024. And so she foregoes the 2023 season of basketball, goes into 2024 season of soccer right before districts, tears her ACL. Non-contact, yes. And so then what happens? She misses senior year of basketball, which was not intended. She was going to come back, play her senior year of basketball, and she was just cleared literally yesterday from the ortho saying, all clear, go. But the mental side of this when she first came here is she's very resilient. She's got a great mind, great head on her shoulders, very well-spoken, very positive, but heady, as most of us athletes are. She's got way more positivity and optimism than I do. I'm like, oh man, I stay down here and climb out, where she's out here trying not to fall in. So she was honest, and when we did the evaluation, she was very concerned about then her opposite leg, and she was very concerned that she's not going to pass her return to play, which we call return to sport. There's differences there we'll get into. But I very quickly at the very beginning just told her, like, it's okay to be where you're at. You should be. And her just hearing that and having that mental component was a big deal. But also, as we were going through and she started getting stronger, it's like, you're going to be a step or half a step behind right now. And you should be. And not many people are telling athletes that. I said that to another one last night. I told him, I was like, dude, you had a tib-fib fracture. If you think you're going to be playing 90 minutes in the first game, you go, like, there's no shot. But having the mental component and drawing it out of, everybody's going to put up this guard and this facade, and she did too. And, you know, to kind of break through that in a very strategic way, that it's not like, let me bring you down a notch. It's more like, let me build you up realistically from where you're at, because where you're at is where you should be and not where you're going to be, and we're going to get you there. So we're going to bring you back 115%, not 80% of the opposite leg that's actually only 50%.
Which is what the standard is right now.
Which is what the standard is. So even doing some of the things that, you are spectacular on the performance rehabilitation side, and I'm learning a lot from you, and now I've just kind of created my own little go-to, as we're calling it now, which seems so simple, but she's 90% of the way through her rehabilitation for her PT and going into this test, and I start having her do these more dynamic motions, and like instantly mental game, like, I don't think I could do that. Had her up on a box, and you thought she was on the high dive of a diving board. Like, I'm like, girl, you're 18 inches off the ground, like, step down. And I was like, okay, hold my hands, and like literally walking them through that. Like, they might be strong, and any injury that we see or that they're seeing right now, they might be strong enough for what the test is testing for.
Physically strong, yeah.
But the mental component of, you are where you are, we're going to address that, you should know that. I just don't think anybody else is dealing with a lot of that and focusing on it. I'm kind of proud to say that we are, and it's been a big game changer from her. When I get a text with all caps from somebody like that, that's like, man, I could scream from the top of the roof. It's like, I wish I had my phone on me. I show you, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so a lot of that, when we're talking about the certain movements, she literally on the first day showed us what she did when the injury happened. She's like, this is something I do all the time. And it was just that one incident that she did it, and it blew out on her. And so that side of it, and you literally putting her through those exact same motions again, and again, it's something she's done a million times, but because she was scared of doing it, and you just literally telling her, one, you're strong. The surgery did what it needed to do. You strengthened what you needed to strengthen around it. And now it's like the mental piece of it is telling yourself it's okay to do this. And literally just going through the motions and not compensating. So there's that subconscious thing that we have, and the conscious ability to change the movement. And so if you're seeing something, and the way that they're moving, and they're not moving the way that they should move, sometimes it's just simple as like pointing it out to them and showing, you're moving this way when you know you should be moving this way. And you don't even know you're moving this way. And until you point that out to them and they actually realize it, that they need to change the way that they're moving because they're scared, and just bringing it up and saying, look, this isn't something that you're physically not capable of doing it. the reason you're not capable of doing it right now is because it's up here in the mind. And so until you bring that to their attention, because it was a subconscious movement, we need to consciously now change it and just address it that way.
And this is why we call it, like in our office, we do not do physical therapy.
No.
We do performance rehabilitation, and we named it accordingly because here's the deal. The physical therapist in these couple handfuls of cases we have now are doing awesome freaking jobs. Awesome jobs.
Right.
They are making strong what was surgically repaired or weak or injured, and they're making strong those areas and the things that connect to it. We're coming at it from a different perspective of we're not physically trying to make you stronger. That's already happened.
Right.
High five, kudos to you guys. Come work with us. Let us take it from there and bring back the performance rehabilitation.
Right.
This is not a one-up use of words. This is an intention and specificity of what we're doing. And with the clients that we have now, and we're starting to create those relationships, which is cool, even with an ortho group. But it's like the performance rehabilitation side is a whole different mindset and perspective of what we're trying to do, and it's exactly what we just talked about.
Yeah, and we won't get too much into this, but some of that comes down to even what insurance is going to cover and where it can get you, and sometimes that is where it gets cut off, and that's where the athlete stops their care and their treatment. So a lot of what we're doing also is picking up from where a physical therapist or some other provider left off because of just that's where their hands were tied, and then we can continue along that path and piece together the things that need to be pieced together to return to sport at 100, 110% or more.
Right.
So
I said this analogy the other day, and I'm going to drive this home because it is a passion project for mine. I just want to call it out. We're changing the stereotype of what we do here in all of these relationships in it. And I think I said this a couple weeks ago. It was probably on a different topic, but I'm just going to say right now, especially with student athletes, so we can go healthcare in general, but I'm going to just say with student athletes, it's like a big pane of glass that has been dropped on the ground when it comes to orthos, PTs, chiros on the athletic side. And it's like all of this, it's all these sharp edges that people would think are like, oh, I can't do this, and they're trying to do that and one up me, and I'm not going to let them, or I can't work with them. And it's like, and some do, so don't hear what I'm not saying. But at the same time, too, stained glass looks pretty freaking cool when you put all the pieces back together. And that is what we're trying to do. And these athletes, we started another one yesterday with a toe foot injury, where it's like, well, we don't know what else to do from here. Our hands are kind of tied. So there's one. Tib-fib fracture, working combined together. Maddie's ACL injury, working combined together, but they see the big picture. They're referring people in here. But just keep in mind, like all of these things, no matter what you are in healthcare in this or in healthcare in general, but around student athletes, we're protecting and building student athletes better here. Let's all pick up the freaking panes of glass and put them together because it looks pretty cool when we can all work on the same page and make it what it needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely. The next route I want to go with this is comparing the mental preparation side of sport and the physical preparation. Obviously, there's a lot that gets put into the physical side of things, from practices, trainings.
We talk about practice?
All the lifting, weightlifting kind of things, the physical therapy that's needed, the performance rehabilitation, performance training, all that kind of stuff from a physical standpoint. And we can even talk about nutrition and that kind of stuff too. But the mental preparation. And I had this conversation with an athlete the other day, and they had a competition. Actually, they're kind of in the peak of their season right now, where they're having multiple competitions within the next couple of weeks, and sometimes a couple within a couple days. Yeah. And so I asked her, I said, when you're at practice, are you at practice because you're trying to literally practice the movements because you're not comfortable doing the movements? Or are you at practice to go through the motions so that you are confident that you can actually do what you're supposed to do in competition? And she said, it's more so just going through the motions to make sure that I know that I can do it. And so she said it's the mental side of practice. So she's dealing with an injury right now. And I said, so how much of the physical side of it do you feel like you actually need? And she's like, I don't need any of the physical side of it. It's like, it's more the mental side that I need to just know that I can do it. And so then we started talking a little bit about visualization. And if you literally spent that whole practice and just visualizing everything that you would do, because even from a visualization standpoint, when you are visualizing something, there are certain things that are happening in your brain, and there's even muscle activity from a microscopic level that's happening that those neurologic connections are taking place when you are visualizing a movement. That's why it's so important within a sport to have that visualization component. So why not when we're dealing with certain injuries, and if it's an overload issue where we're doing too much and the body can't withstand it, and so the body's literally starting to break down and it can't repair itself, why not focus more on the mental side of it, visualization, and literally have those connections being formed, which is literally what you need when you're competing. You don't need the physical component of it because you've done it a million times already. Your body is capable of doing it, but it's not capable of doing it if it's starting to break down. So let the body heal itself and work on the mental side of it. And it's amazing because she literally came in, I think it was a couple days later, and the issue that she was originally complaining about felt great.
Yeah.
It was literally no longer an issue. And then a couple of days later, she went and competed, and she did great. So, and it was more so the mental side of things that exacerbated the issue, because there's that too. When there's mental stress, when we're dealing with injuries, that chemically changes things on how inflammation is processed in the body. And that side of it alone can either let you heal faster or prolong the healing process. So just focusing on the mental side of it. And like we said in the beginning, that side of it is huge. And if nobody's addressing it with what we're doing from a rehab component, then you're really missing a big piece of it.
Yeah. I mean, in all of life, like the devil's out to get you. So it's like you could be having, you could have had a bad routine, you could have an injury, you could be having a bad day, whatever it is, you could have external stress that then you carry in between the lines, we'll say, or underneath a scoreboard of some sort. And, devil's out to get you. So then it's going to bring up that external source will bring up, oh man, I hope I hit this because I didn't 2 times ago, or I just recovered from an injury. It's like all of those things are just so easy. The cop-outs are easy. So like you're saying, like the mental side of that, whether it's healing, whether it's performance, whether it's leadership, it's like you have to have a clear vision of what you're doing. And I said this to Carson yesterday. And I said it to Maddie, and I've said it to all of them, but I literally just went over this again yesterday. And I'm going to let the TM go here, Sam. But there's like, I told him there's a difference between, I said, I want you to get inside, close your eyes, and visualize yourself in that area as we're doing these exercises.
Like inside the body is what you're meaning.
Inside. And I told Maddie the same thing. I want you inside the hip joint. I want you inside the capsule of the knee. And I want you visualizing that you're like you're in there pulling strings, like you're an air traffic control tower sitting in that part of the body. I said, so I'm going to quickly coin that athletic meditation portion of it, not just meditation like, oh, I'm good, I'm zen. No, it's like literally, let's take athletic meditation and start utilizing that, which is exactly what you're speaking on, is like not see the ball, be the ball. It's like literally like get in there. And there's all kinds of research that will show that too. Like you said, if we could be big petri dishes, it'd be amazing what you'd see go on in there. But literally get inside whatever injury you're rehabbing. Get inside the situation of, okay, I'm on a bar routine and this is my hard part and I see myself hit. Like literally be your hands on the bar. Feel the hips. Like get in it. It's not just like, oh, saw myself throwing a no-hitter. I'm on the mound. Boom, bang, 16 strikeouts, no. Like,
yeah. Right. Exactly. The other piece that you're passionate about with the mental component or the mental pillar itself, and I'm going to let you speak on this, is how does the mental pillar also, we're obviously talking about sport right now, but how does that mental pillar and how do we incorporate that into our conversations with athletes in relation to everyday life? I want you to speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, so this is one, they still have to be a person. They still have to interact in society.
Right.
And in some of us, it's like we put ourselves in a box, or then, maybe we're that class of athlete and all of a sudden like your nose starts to go like this. And it's like, we got to keep them grounded, keep them humble. And like the mental aspect of, it's something that I wish I would have known too. I was very tunnel vision and very mistaken for the intensity that I had. It wasn't that I thought I was great by any means. It was just like, I have a plan. I have a goal. This is what I want to do. And if it doesn't go that way, like the intensity was mistaken. And it's very easy to do. So having a mentality of making sure that they're aware of what they're portraying, the aura they're being, is very, very important, because they need to be relational, which is then the next pillar. And you could very quickly put people off And a lot of people that I grew up with, that I played with, it took them a while. Like, they'd be the first one to tell you, like, Boston was like, dude, like, you got to tone it down. And they probably wish they'd have told me that a little sooner. And so I'll speak on that just from experience. But also, too, is it's like some of these things happen where their identity is wrapped around the jersey, the statistics, the goals of that. And it can also be ruined by an injury. It can be ruined by, somebody else playing more than me when I know they don't deserve it, the politics of sports and all of that. And they need to be privy of that and know how to become a leader sooner. But the other thing, too, is it's like in some of these scenarios where maybe things go downhill, or injuries and things like that, or concussions, that's a whole same but different.
Yeah,
we'll leave that. And I've had this in college. I had this after high school. I've had close people. And so I just boldly say, like, I'm sick of seeing athletes jump out freaking windows. And it's sad. And it could be from a multitude of different things. The identity issue, the injury that they didn't know where to go, who to trust, and then the opioids, the falling of grades, and the significant other conversation, like, how do we deal with a breakup? That shit's real.
Yeah.
And so leading them earlier, not that we have to be like, okay, there's going to come a time where you're going to have a girlfriend. Like, no, it's just rounding them as a person to prepare for that and having the honest conversations, because it can be detrimental. And that's the mental side for me, is it's not so much rah and overcoming an injury. It's like, no, you're a person, and there's people depending on you through sport and after sport. Like, you're going to be a mom or a dad for the 99% of you. They're going to be parents. You're going to be a leader. You're going to be an employee. You're going to be a boss. You're going to be, you're still a son. You're still a daughter. You're still people are still depending on you to be the best version of you. And a lot of people looking at you to lead, and you can very, very quickly never assume that role. And it could cost you, I'm not going to say everything, but it could cost you the best version of life you could have had, because you let one jersey, or you let sport kind of divide you from person.
Yeah. This could go on and on and on. We could literally go probably hours on this. And so what we'll end up doing is we'll break up and dive into some of these topics a little bit more. One of those being like how you perceive failure and how you perceive mistakes, and reframing that, because I think that alone, I'm a little passionate about that. And so I think we'll take that piece of it from the mental side and turn into a whole podcast in itself, because we could spend a whole nother 30 minutes just talking on that.
Yeah, I know next week, I'll already let the cat out of the bag. Next week, obviously, we've gone through physical. We're finishing up mental now. We're going to go through relationship, but I think we've created, quite the bullet pointed list to be able to do just that. And I'm excited to do it on the mental pillar for sure.
Yeah. So next up.
If you can't tell my intensity, like when I started getting into that's a perfect example. It's like, man, I'd love to be like this all the time. And, I think maybe people need to hear it that way, but just know, like, when I talk about that, like, I'm super excited to talk about it. It's not so, don't let me drag you down.
There's more coming.
There's always more. There's always more to talk about on this topic, but
come on.
Is anyone else cold? Because it is currently 17 degrees here on this chilly February day. So my question for you guys is, if there was one place that had a singular season all year round, what season would you want to live in all year round? Like, what would you want to live in the most?
I think fall. I like fall weathers. I like fall sunsets, October sunsets. I think they're phenomenal. I like
very
long walks on the
autumnal.
beach.
I like pumpkin spice lattes. I do like pumpkin stuff. Yeah, fall.
Dr. Nick,
Autumn.
this is supposed to be fun.
Okay.
Hey, he just said he likes pumpkin spice lattes and long walks on the beach in the fall.
I like Thanksgiving,
Ooh,
which
yes.
is the foodie holiday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like jumping in leaves. I have a lot of good memories from fall. My birthday's in the fall.
That's a good day.
Yeah. It's a good one.
I might like fall for that reason alone. just because Dr. Nate was born in the fall. I think
Tell your three things.
Yeah.
Yeah. The three things I listen to. Here you go. Here's my hack. I was like, man, I wonder how he does it. Well, I'm not all that great, but I'll tell you my hack. There's three things I listen to in life. And I'm sorry, Erica. It's God, ChatGPT, and Dr. Nate. In that order.
It's as someone who works with them every day, that's very true.
I'm gonna give you a typical Dr. Dustin answer and say weather doesn't really affect me, and it's hard because if it's cold, great, it's cold. I like snow. If it's warm, great. I don't mind sweating if I'm gonna exercise. If I go on a run, I want to drip. I love the dew of spring. I love
You're not answering
fall.
the question.
I'm Dr. Dustin answer. Like, look at here's. You said this isn't
one.
fun, Sam?
No, it's not. I'm making
Summer,
you pick
fall,
one.
winter, spring.
Yeah, pick
Four
one.
options.
More
A, B,
dynamic
C, or
than that
D.
guy.
Yeah.
It's more dynamic than that, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
This isn't about dynamics.
This is a black and white, clear cut situation. I picked one.
I would say that June would be my favorite season.
Summer.
Falls
in the summer category.
Well, in the Midwest, the spring into summer. If I had to move anywhere, where would I move? It would be beach. It would be coastal.
So you want a June temperature all year round.
Yeah. I hate monotony. That's why I moved back from LA. It's like I didn't. Well, among other reasons.
Yeah,
but,
like Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
You're just kind of living the
monotony
same thing.
of I just don't do monotony.
I'll
well.
point this out too. Football is in the fall.
Yeah, football is in the fall.
Yeah.
And hockey starts in the fall. Football and hockey in the fall.
So there's that.
Yeah, no.
Soccer, usually soccer too.
Yeah, I would say I don't mind the gloom when it's rainy. I don't like the gloom for just being gloom. So I'll say that spring into summer, late spring into summer.
That's a good one. I like that. I like
could be
summer.
hot, could be reasonable, could be a sweatshirt, could not be, and there's hardly any gloom. So
That's a good one. I like very definitive answer.
you get the fall weather ish,
Nice.
but yeah.
Yeah. I am a summer girl through and through. I am learning after 28 years of living in Missouri to embrace winter.
She acts like we asked her. This is our show.
Hey,
Usually
I produced this show.
Usually we turn around and actually ask you. We didn't today.
Yeah, it's fine. So I'm just
I'm
going
just
to
kidding.
insert myself and my answer. No, summer for sure. I am a water girl through and through. So anytime you can put me on a boat in some water with the sun shining, happy.
Sweet.
So none of us agreed.
No.
We're all living in different.
It's been really
Climates.
fun. We're all working remote.
Through ChatGPT.
And Jesus and Dr. Nate.
Awesome. Well, anything else, Dr. Nate?
I don't think so.
No? All right. Well, enjoy. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, moral outrages, you can go ahead and post them below. But let us be a resource for you guys. We've continuing to try to put out more content. So follow us, share it out. If you have any questions for us that you'd seriously like answered, let us do that for you. If we can be a resource for you, we'd love to. Till next time, see ya.